Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.
Psalm 91, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in him I will trust. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. You shall not be afraid of the terror by night, nor of the arrow that flies by day, nor of the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor of the destruction that lays waste at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. Only with your eyes shall you look and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, who is my refuge, even the Most High, your dwelling place. No evil shall befall you, nor shall any plague come near you, your dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and the cobra, the young lion and the serpent you shall trample underfoot. Because he has set his love upon me, therefore I will deliver him. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life I will satisfy him and show him my salvation.
We want to welcome all of His Glory Nation from east to west to north to south to today's Take 5, May the 25th. We listen to our audience, and our audience, we got lots of emails saying, we love Bo when Bo comes on. We love Andrew when Andrew comes on. Why don't you put them on together and show how important it is of such a time as this? So we listened, and here we are. I have Andrew Sorchini with us, with our partners at Beverly Hills Precious Metals, and Bo Polny with us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. God bless everybody.
Now this is going to be power-packed. I feel it already.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but what's happening is we're just getting an enormous amount of people that are members of the His Glory family reaching out to us saying, please help me. I have a retirement account that needs to be protected with gold and silver. I understand this can be done. Can you explain the process? And they want it done like yesterday. They really do. It's we're seeing the stock market, which is what most retirement accounts are invested in. The stock market's melting down, and that's an understatement. So it's not too late to get out of your stocks with a little bit of profit. It's definitely not too late, and the stock market's not expected to recover this year or anytime soon.
And you just read me an article that you could probably high-level Reader's Digest version of a tech company warning of what's coming.
Yes, it was Snapchat dropped about 40% of its value yesterday, and that's one of the probably hotter tech company stocks over the last year or so. And the CEO is basically blaming like poor guidance over the next quarter on the Ukraine situation, supply chain shortages, rising inflation, and now interest rates. So we've seen the stock market tank here, and now we're about to see real estate take a hit. And that's already here in California, and specifically LA County. They just came out with a report this week where rents are up as much as 20% now. And the reason is that real estate has skyrocketed so much that people can't afford to buy a home here when a home that's 2,000 square feet costs about $2 million. So they're all out there renting, and that's driving the prices of the rent up. And now people are having to move out of California to places like the Midwest, especially Texas, just to try to be able to put food on the table.
Yep.
So interest rates are going to bring down the real estate market for sure, and they'll be getting raised here in about another week or two.
That's right. Bo?
I can't disagree with anything you're saying. You're 100% right, okay? And then I look at things a little, I step back and I look at it from a biblical perspective, right? And I constantly will reiterate Isaiah 61, and it specifically talks about the year of the Lord's favor and the day of his vengeance. And that is an incredible place to start this whole conversation, because this whole year, this is the year of Jubilee, okay? And so if you read Leviticus, it states very clearly, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants, okay? And so if you layer in with that Isaiah 61, all we're waiting for is the 61 moment, that day of the Lord's vengeance, right? And so these people are sick. They have an agenda to control humanity, and everything they do is to they've exposed their cards as to what they want to do. They want to depopulate. So it's a sick, evil, we battle not against flesh and blood, but principalities of darkness, principalities. So these are governments, and that's what we're fighting against. So all the news is their news. Everything they state is their news. And so, I step back and look at the bigger picture of it, and then I'll look at long-term cycles, and we'll talk about those today, because Andrew, you did bring up the stock market. And you're exactly right. I've said forever that the year 2022 is a crash year. Well, look what's happening. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And this is not only, you're right, get out, because that's a good point you're making, because it's down. It'll have bounces, but it's a down year. But this is a historic year, because not only, Andrew, is it going to be a stock crash year, it's going to be a bond crash year. It's going to be a dollar crash year. It's going to be an everything paper crash year. And that's going to directly relate to what God intervening the day of his vengeance. And that's going to relate to a historic breakaway and vertical move for precious metals, gold and silver. And this will delineate a time point the world will never forget. We're never going to forget what happened in 2022, ever. Because this is the time point that God wrote about thousands of years ago. And those that, when I started that conversation, when we started, the dogs barked, but I've been talking about how May 14th is very powerful. And that was 888 months from when Israel was proclaimed a state. Yeah. Well, I don't know if your staff, if they want to, I don't know if Andrew maybe want to chime in a second, but if in the meantime, while Andrew's speaking, if your staff, David, can kind of put on the PDF presentation, sure, and then we can kind of go through the slides, and then as any particular point of interest, Andrew, chime in and say whatever you want to say. But the slides will include the stock market. They're including what's happening with the bond market and Russia, and they're including what's talking with in regards to the dollar as well too, and specifically gold and silver. So it'll cover all the things that I think we want to talk about today.
Okay. Is there a certain number, a numbered one that you
just start at page 1 and we can scroll through it?
Let's start with page 1.
So what it starts off with May 4th. So we've been waiting for forever, David. We've talked about a birth of a new era. Yep. Okay. And so a birth would occur on the 9th month. So we know that childbirth is 9 months and then a baby's born. Okay. So we're in the 9th month right now, going into June, of when a new era could be birthed. Because if we're looking at from Rosh Hashanah, which would be September 6th, which is day 1, 9 months later is May into early June. So incredibly, we've been, waiting and looking for the birth of a new era. Well, we're here, and look what's going on in the world, just as May started, okay? And this was, David, when you were on stage with Amanda in Ohio, in Dayton, in Ohio for the conference, and for the Clay Clark event, right? What did Amanda state? What did God state through Amanda? If the pharaohs of this world want a demonstration they shall receive. The first strike comes in April. Guess what the first strike was? Roe v. Wade. They exposed it. So they knew Roe v. Wade was going to be overturned in April. Because on May 1st, they had T-shirts made. On May 2nd, they had T-shirts made. They were blocking off the Supreme Court already. They knew that the decision. So they found out in April. If the pharaohs of this world, not if we find out, if the pharaohs of this world want a demonstration. So they found out in April, God's word came true. And the second part of it was, and a second strike shortly thereafter. So now we're waiting for that second strike moment shortly thereafter, which is going to be potentially here as May ends into June, middle of June. But somewhere very, very soon here, we're going to see a strike, a biblical strike, a godly strike, the Isaiah 61 moment, a time point the world's never going to forget. And then all bets are off. So everything that they're stating on the news right now, Andrew, they're going to have to state a new narrative because something historic just happened, you see? So all the things that they're stating, that's like going on a railroad tracks. Everything's on a railroad track, but when God intervenes, he derails the railroad track. You get onto a new set of railroad tracks, and now the narrative has to change, and they're going to be talking about what just happened. So that's how cool all of this is playing out. It's really, really awesome. And it started with May 14th, and it takes us, because we've talked the year of Jubilee. So in a nutshell, May 14th would be 888 months from when Israel's proclaimed a state. When does the year end, David? The next Rosh Hashanah.
Yep.
Specifically, Elul 29. Well, Elul 29 this year is September 25th. Okay? So between May 14th and September 25th, we're talking cuckoo, crazy. Biblical is going to go down. And then, remember, because we're looking for the return of the eagle, right? Several prophets have talked about the return of the eagle, and that's Trump, right? Mm-hmm. So he cannot return until all of this falls, and he's going to rebuild what God takes down. So I guess that's a great place to start. I don't know if your staff has the slides up.
Yep.
Let me know when they pop up.
They're up.
And I hope, will Andrew be able to see them as well too?
I don't think he'll be able to see them.
Oh, okay. It's wow, Bo, that sounds so heavy. It's like the only thing that I think that people can do at this point, aside from have their faith, is to be prepared. It's and the only way that I could think of being prepared is what we talk about all the time on this show, which is to convert your green into gold and silver and do it like right away. It's there's just too much happening all at the same time to not be prepared. And if none of this comes to fruition, which it's already coming to fruition, but if you just believe that this isn't really happening, then you can always convert your gold and silver that you've converted back into greenbacks anytime you want. But now is the time. Gold and silver prices are low. More importantly, the product is still available, which I figure if another 8% of the American population wakes up and understands that they need to invest into gold and silver, that would wipe out the available supply, which ultimately could send gold to 5,000 an ounce and silver over 500. And I know you believe a lot more, right, Bo?
Well, that's the thing is, prices are difficult, but I would say 5,000's like an overnight event possibly, right? So let me ask you a question. This is a great place to have you, Dave. Thank you for arranging this, to make it happen, Pastor Dave. Because, Andrew, let me ask you a question. If the price of silver in a single day went from $25 to $50 and then $60 in a single day, what would you do with your sales of silver on that afternoon? What would you do? Would you continue selling, or what would you do? Please answer the question.
Yeah, we would close up and we would just head for the beach that day. That's the honest truth. We would. And there were days like that in 2010 and 2011 when the market was moving so quickly, where we didn't know what to sell the silver for. We didn't know what we could replace the silver that we had in our inventory for. Therefore, we were afraid to sell it. And that's how the premiums get out of whack and things start to get very expensive. Because one thing, and I know you've seen this before, Bo, when there's a big drop in silver, like $3-4 over a week period, people will call us and say, yes, I'm ready to take advantage of that drop in silver. When they call to make a purchase, silver basically costs the same as it did before the drop, because the premiums go up, because dealers like us haven't bought enough new product at the new lower price to be able to replenish our inventory. Therefore, we have to charge a higher spread based on where we bought it at before the drop. So if we were to see it go up 100% or even more overnight, which it absolutely can happen, I believe that, then we would have to just sit back and just figure out where everybody's at on the pricing and just do nothing. Just sit back and watch.
And to Bo's point, something we talked about before we came on, Andrew, is that the deep state banks are holding this silver and gold pricing down. Well, that's going to collapse. They're not going to be able to hold it for much longer. And then in one day, it literally could go through the roof.
Yeah, absolutely. And just one more comment on that is that people that are members of, or that are family members of the His Glory show and listen all the time, you guys will have a big benefit here, because when we start to see the product dry up, you're going to not be able to find gold and silver. Right now, you can get gold and silver anywhere you want. It's available out there. It's just a matter of finding someone that you trust and someone that's vouched for someone that you truly believe in and feel that you know. So people that are members of the His Glory family already have that benefit. So you want to be able to have a relationship with somebody, hopefully me, but if not me, somebody like me, so that you can continually keep accumulating gold and silver. And when things get as serious as what Bo had pointed out, where silver could go from 20 something to $50 or $60 overnight, literally, which it can and likely will, you're going to want to have somebody that knows you, that's in the metals business, that when we get to the point to where we have to decide who we're going to sell to on a given day, you want to make sure that you're that person.
Mm-hmm. You know, the one thing to add to this is, you see, it's called sitting on the fence. And there's a lot of people who, we speak, but they don't listen. It's written in the Bible, we speak, but they don't listen. So we're speaking, and I want to be clear about this. And Andrew just confirmed what I knew was the truth, okay? There's going to be a moment in time very soon. It's coming this year, and it's going to happen between the dates I just gave. So between May 14th, okay, and September 25th. There will be a date and time that this event, no one knows the day or the hour, because this is hidden by God, so he can catch the enemy unprepared. But that moment will happen, and in a single instant, silver is going to go limit up. What they're going to do is it's going to go $3. They're going to shut the trading down. They pause it for 5 minutes. They open it up again. It's going to go another $3, and then it's going to shut down for 5 minutes again, and then it's going to go another $3, and I think that's it. And then after the third stop, there's no more 5-minute stops, and then it's going to go limit. It's just going to go vertical. And so it'll probably go anywhere. I'm guessing my resistance lines come in around $60 to $70 on that first move. On that day, Andrew's not selling you. I'm going to be very clear to you. Andrew's not selling you any silver. You sat on the fence, the train left the station, and you watch it go. There's no more buying silver. From that point on, any silver, when Andrew does open up his door to sell it, it's never going to come down to $25 again. It'll be minimum, in the 50s for a very short window, and then it's going to go triple digit. And then when that happens, explain to the viewers, Andrew, what happens. When silver goes triple digit, you tell them what happens to the spread. A spread is, if silver spot price is $120, you tell them, Andrew, what's your best guess of what the spread will be? Because right now, the spread's about $15 for a silver eagle. And that's only at $25. So go ahead, explain it, David, because I think it's incredibly powerful for you to be here.
Yeah, it could go, the spread could go upwards of about 100%. And it's just a basic law of supply and demand. when the supply is not meeting the demand, the price must rise. And when there's an enormous like skyrocket jump like that, that's exactly what would happen. And Bo mentioned that silver eagles now are going for about $15 an ounce over the spot price. Well, silver is only $22 an ounce. So that $15 is, I would say that's what, about 65, 70% above the actual price of silver. And that's not a bad price. Now there's other silver that we recommend that people get into where the premium can be significantly less. We can talk about that later. But what you're saying about the premium is something else. And I'll just tell you that when I worked in the coin shop, when I got my start from 1985 to the early 90s, the Silver Eagle first came out in 86. Silver was between $3 and $4 an ounce. And we sold them for about 50 cents an ounce over the spot price. And back then, that's still about a 13, 14% premium. And I should call it a spread. So it's about a 13, 14% spread, which was high back then. Now it's significantly higher. So you can see the trend. So we're heading upwards about 100% soon.
Yeah, and this is not Andrew adding to the price of silver. This is where Andrew buys it from, is what they're doing, the suppliers, right? And so the other crazy thing is when this starts to happen, silver, the moment silver becomes priceless, see what I'm saying? See, right now, it's the most hated metal on earth because it's, there's been movies made about it. It's called The Lone Ranger, Tonto and the Silver Bullet, okay? Silver is a bank killer. Mark my words, when silver does this, banks will be destroyed. Okay, we read about, Leviticus, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. What is that saying? It's saying that, what has Satan done? Let's actually answer that question first. What has Satan done? He's enslaved humanity by putting everybody on either having credit card debts, 30-year mortgage debts, or $100,000 to $300,000 $1,000 student loans that they're in debt. So the world is enslaved. People might think they're free, but they're not. Satan's only a little wiser this time. Still, he's a defeated, fallen foe. He's a loser, but he's a little wiser this time. And so just like the time of Pharaoh and Israel knew they were enslaved. The difference this time is we think we're free, but we're enslaved. Okay, so that's the big picture right now. So that's why Leviticus states, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and to all of its inhabitants. Well, this year ends on September 25th. We're heading into some very powerful time points. And so we've already passed May 14th. And so we're supposed to have the chains come off. Well, what does that mean? It means that the bonds break. Because bonds compromise the financial system. If the bonds break, guess what happens to your debts? The Leviticus states that they would be, they go bye-bye, yep. Okay? I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just interpreting what the Bible is basically stating, okay? If it says, proclaim liberty throughout the land and all of its inhabitants, well, if they're bound by a satanic monetary system that they're creating out of thin air, then in essence, that system breaks. So the bonds would therefore break, the mortgages would therefore break, okay? And the financial world as you know it breaks between now and September 25th. And when that happens, imagine the only thing that really, and when that happens, silver's skyrocketing. Well, what's the banks been doing for generations? Shorting silver. So when forget gold, as Jim St. Clair coined the phrase, as good as gold is, but his phrase was silver. So if you like gold, that's great, but silver is gold on steroids. Okay, so when silver goes, that's why they've manipulated it 8 times more. So they've sold, I'm guessing maybe 500. They've sold 500 ounces on paper for every physical ounce of gold in the world, maybe more, who knows by now. So silver is 8 times worse than that because they can control it all with derivatives, and you can attest that, I'm sure, Andrew. And so because there's so much leverage, when this system breaks of these banks that have been shorting, you're going to see stupid. And then that's why the Bible's written, damages immediately are sevenfold.
Yep.
We'll take the price of silver today, multiply by 7. That's $175 an ounce, roughly. Okay? You see what I'm saying? So, and Andrew's not going to be selling you silver when it takes off, because Andrew's not going to know how much Andrew has to pay to get his inventory replenished.
Exactly.
That's what people don't understand. There's no, if there's well, I'm just going to be adding a little bit here and there. That's great. The problem is a little bit here and there ends any day now.
Yeah.
It's true.
Any week now.
It just takes a little bit more, we just need a little bit more of the American population or the world population to wake up and understand how valuable silver is and should be for it to really just kind of go off the rails.
Or just one big investor. See, one big investor could buy up all the silver in a heartbeat. Done, gone, done. That's how fast. There's so much liquidity in the world. It's either the world wake, and imagine when this event goes down, all it's going to take is one billionaire to wake up and just go, buy anything you can possibly get me at any price. That's what's going to be stated. And you're just going to see insane go off the rails. And it's coming. And it's coming. This is coming, and it's going to happen.
Well, we've been talking about this for, almost a year, and so both of you share what is publicly happening. It's not cracks anymore. It is, the dam is about to break.
Absolutely. Bo, every time I go on the show with Pastor Dave always asks me to give one example of a way that the banks are interfering with the transactions that I help His Glory families try to accomplish. So this is something that happened on Monday. Okay, a client of ours is trying to wire us $102,000 to buy silver at Wells Fargo Bank. Now, I bank with Wells Fargo, so they're in a different state, and the person at the bank said, I'm pretty sure that this is a fraudulent transaction, and I cannot allow you to do this. And the client says, I listened to a show that tells me that this can happen, and what I'm supposed to do is insist. So I insist that this transaction go through. I initiated the call to Beverly Hills Precious Metals. They did not call me blindly. I called them through people that I trust, and they said, well, we're not going to do this. And I just can't believe it. Each time it happens, I just can't believe that this is still happening. So she goes home, she calls my associate and says, this is what's happened. I tell the associate, tell her, go to another Wells Fargo. They're everywhere. So she goes back out to another Wells Fargo, and she ends up sitting in front of the bank manager, and they say, I can't send this wire transfer. Your account is now locked. You cannot send wire transfers to anybody right now. And my associate calls me and says, I'm frustrated, Andrew. I mean, you have to intervene here. Can you do something? I go, absolutely. So I called up my bank here, Wells Fargo, spoke with the operations manager, and said, can you help me out here? Because I'm being blocked here from a transaction by my own bank. By Wells Fargo to Wells Fargo. They know it's not fraudulent. They could look at the account and see all the transactions. They can see everything. And you have to intervene. And she goes, I absolutely will. She called 10 times that day. No one answered. And she finally did get through yesterday, and everything happened. So the client was able to complete the transaction, but this is just, I'm pretty sure that that's not legal. If that's our money that is deposited in the bank,
it's not legal.
Can I just go and hand it out to somebody in the street and just give it to a total stranger? So if it's my money and I can do that, why can I not just take it out of the bank and send it to someone? If I'm a fool and want to send it to a scammer, fine, let me, but they won't let you.
No.
It's crazy. I always had the same scenario happen years ago when I wanted to send a wire to buy some cryptocurrencies, and they're like, they wouldn't let me. I had to go to a different bank. And then, it's just it's a game you have to play, because they don't, it's just like when you send a wire, they ask the question, what's it for? Do you know who you're sending it to? It's just
always.
It's incredible, but that's the world we live in, and soon enough, they're going to remove all paper currency as well. Okay, so by the end of this decade, this is kind of interesting because so in this year, the way we transact will forever change. So this year, we're going to go to a gold standard in terms of money, okay? And then by the end of this decade, so not tomorrow, not next year, but by the end of this decade, the paper money system that we use will be worthless. Like it's going to go worth less, and then worthless. And so they're doing this intentionally, right? It has to happen by 2030. Why? Because you got they got their whatever their agenda 2030, right? And to have that happen, all four horses will be riding, and by that time they basically want to enslave humanity. So it's so critically important to be able to transact after in the latter part of this decade. And you're not going to be able to use cryptocurrencies because the mark of the beast will likely be based on my calculation, will be up and live by that time, right? So as good as cryptocurrencies are going to be for the next few years, ultimately you're going to need the mark of the beast to log into the internet. So your cryptos become worthless unless you want to take the mark, So this is how. But all this is a plan that's happening, right? And so by the end of this decade, if you have, so if you accumulate silver and gold now, what you're buying is your family. You're buying freedom for your family because it's the ultimate form of money. Because there's no counterparty risk. There's no middleman to ask you, hey, who are you sending your money to? Do you know this person? Like Andrew just discussed, okay? You don't need a bank to send anybody to give someone a coin, okay? There's no third party intervened on your gold or silver transactions. That is why the banking system absolutely hates gold and silver in a nutshell. Because it ultimately is a bank killer, but it's because they can't control who has it and what you do with it.
That's right.
Yep. And dollars that find their way out of stocks and into gold and silver tend to not find their way back to stocks. But as we always talk about, Pastor Dave, is that I'm not only about gold and silver. I'm about gold and silver right now. This will always be my business, like for the rest of my life. But as we always talk, I enjoy stocks quite a bit. I think stocks are a great way to build wealth. I do like cryptocurrency, but those do not offer the privacy that gold and silver can offer. And really, if you can't hold it in your hand, you don't really own it. So with gold and silver, you can, and that is the world's true currency. For gold, it has been for thousands of years, and silver as well.
Yeah, I'm holding it in my hand right now, and just the feel of it in your hand makes all the difference in the world. You look at your statement in your bank, and you're like, you may have X number of dollars, but good luck trying to get that out of there.
Well, Andrew just stated that exactly right there. Imagine that you have like all these one or two or three, a bunch of zeros behind it. You feel like all powerful, right? And then you want to send it out of the bank, and they don't let you. See, that's the problem. And they can also, with a click of a button, make it all go away.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's layers upon layers of issues because there's basically, what gives the U.S. dollar value? It's faith and confidence because it's no longer attached to gold. So as of Nixon in August 15th of 71, they detached gold from the dollar. So there's no correlation anymore. So all that gives a U.S. dollar value today is faith and confidence in the people that create it. Okay. Turn your TV on, people. Right? So that's what's going on right now. So now the people that are running the world, they're the ones with a faith and confidence. So they're basically a third party between you and your money. And they at any point in time can intervene. And that's the problem, what's going on with the world right now. You have a middleman between you and what you perceive to be your wealth. And so when God intervenes, the tables flip. That's the thing is like, Pastor Dave, you've gone through, when you look at the Bible, there's so many stories of when God intervenes, how everything you believe to be true becomes 180 degrees different.
Yep.
It's a complete flip. Everything changes. So that's kind of like what we talked about, that Isaiah 61 moment, the day of vengeance, is going to be a complete 180 flip. So everything that they're trying to push on us gets flipped. It's like Haman, right? He's the one that hung on the gallows, right? But he built the gallows to kill the Jews, right?
Yep.
So everything is a flip of when God intervenes, everything that they planned becomes 180 degrees different. And so, and Andrew, you talk about the stock market, right? As good as the stock market was, that's the problem. As good as the stock market was, it's so corrupt that there's no true price discovery anymore. And the perfect example would be what happened in March of 2020. See, it took 100 years to create the first $1 trillion. So, and they started to accelerate that when Nixon detached it. But then in March of 2020, they traded like it was $7 trillion after the market crashed that weekend at the bottom. They created $7 trillion that weekend, and the market reversed and turned back up and has never looked back from the crash of 2020. You see, so how can it have value if the price tag is based on something that's created out of thin air? It might have a price on it, but it's based off of a fraud because they're creating money out of thin air. And that's the problem, as Andrew's stating, gold and silver is God's money. It's real, like Pastor Dave, you can hold it in your hand. Yep. And it's been money for thousands of years. So is whatever you think you have in your bank account, whatever you think you have in the stock market, it's smoke and mirrors because it's nothing but a Babylonian money system. And if those have listened to my presentation, that Babylonian money system is about to go down. It's a third seal event. Third seal is a black horse with a rider with scales. And then Pastor Dave, mene, tekel, offshore seam. You've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. Your kingdom has come to an end and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. That is the moment in time we are at. That's why the rider on the third seal rider is holding scales in his hand. We've been weighed in the balances. The United States, well, the financial system, not the United States, but the financial system as a whole, the fiat money system has been weighed in the balances and found wanting. We detached ourselves from real money. And now we're about to see historic events go down this year. And I want to actually, and if Andrew, if you want to check this in the PDF, I don't know if Andrew can see the PDF presentation, so I just printed this up. Is there any way you can put on the screen at all, David, or not really? Can your staff do that? Where Andrew can see it?
Is there a way to put this on the screen that Andrew can see it? No.
No? Okay, so I printed this right here. So Andrew, you're going to like this. Okay, so Pastor Dave, we talked about May 14th, 881 months to the precise day from when Israel was proclaimed a state. On that precise time point, Andrew, you'll know that gold and silver were crashing for weeks into that, for the past few weeks in May, right? In April to May. Guess what happened on the last day of the 13th of May, because that was a Friday, and then what happened on Monday, May 16th.
Yep.
We see a nice bounce.
See that?
Yep.
Okay. You know what happened that day? Blood red moon.
Yep.
Also, okay?
Wow.
What I'm showing you, that chart is going to go down in history as marking the end of the old and the birth of the new era. It happened precisely on the blood moon, May 14th, 888 months. So now gold and silver bottomed. They reversed on Monday the 16th, and they're working their way up. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vander, but the price has been going up. I showed you in the chart. And now it's going to keep going up, 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 up. They're going to keep fighting. And then Isaiah 61 happens. The statue of Daniel 2 falls. Gold and silver do a rocket, and you're going to see silver go to $60 in a day.
Wow. Before you came on, Bo, I was talking about the general metals market with Pastor Dave, and I told him that we've seen an increased awareness and increased volume in sales in the last little bit more than a week. I actually said that before you came on, and the 14th was 11 days ago, about a week and a half. So it matches up with what I've seen. And I would say that after tax day, we'd seen a little bit of a drop off, just gotten a little bit slower after drop off because people write the big tax checks and they need a few weeks to recover before they add more gold and silver. But it just seemed like that amount of time had gone by, and we'd started to see everybody come back. And now you're saying that what had happened on May 14th, and yeah, that's what we've experienced here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all I can say is that it's going to work. They're going to keep fighting and fighting, and when God intervenes, it's the railroad tracks. We get put on new railroad tracks, and you can never go back. It's like when the Red Sea closed, Pastor Dave, right?
Yep.
Israel couldn't go back. It was over.
Yep.
It was finished. Okay. Pharaoh was dead. Red Sea closed. No one's going back to Egypt. Israel's, they're released. They're officially freed from bondage. Manda and other prophets have spoken about a Red Sea miracle, Red Sea moment, that time point. So, we're heading into that. We got Pentecost showing up here. So it's a feast date on the 6th of June.
Yep.
Happens to be D-Day as well. So June 6th is a powerful time point. So again, we don't know the day this is going to happen, but all I know is gold's in an up cycle. It's going to keep working its way up, and then there's going to be a moment in time where it just rips. And then when it explodes, unfortunately, those who sat on the fence, the ones that sat on the fence, they're finished. They're not getting it because Andrew and all the other gold dealers are not selling it to you.
Yeah, we can't afford to because we don't know what we can replace it at. You're exactly right. And I know this because we experienced it in 2010 and 2011.
One thing I want to show you as well, too. So since we can't look at the PDF presentation, I'm just printing it up here as we're sitting. My computer's only printing in black and white right now. But the point being is that if you see this page, shows this stock market cycle right here. Okay. And so what it's showing is that we got a 4-2-1 pattern completing over here in September. Right there. So we got 4-2-1 ending here in September. So I've had this going on ever since Trump was elected, way over here on this page since the election up here. So the cycle is not broken. So the point being is because the cycle is not broken, going all the way back to the Trump election, what it's basically pointing is that what we're supposed to see here in September is the historic market plunge or crash in September, and that lines up with Elul 29, and that also lines up with Jonathan Cahn. And those people don't understand what Elul 29 is, but I think it's important to go back and study it. It's on page 13 of my presentation, but Jonathan Cahn talks about this. He wrote a book on it called the Shimita Cycle. Yep. And basically, 2022 is a Shimita year. And so we've got, things like oil crash in 73. We got a recession began in 1980, the stock market crash of 87, the bond market crash of 94, the stock market crash of 2001, and then the stock market crash of 2008. Okay?
Bam, bam, bam.
Bam, bam, bam. Nothing happened in 2015. Why? It was a year of rest. It was a 7th cycle. Okay, so right now we're in the 8th cycle or the 1st cycle, but 8 is actually the cycle because basically what is God? He's infinity, right? Tilting 8 sideways. And so God created everything, David, in 6 days. He rested on the 7th. And then on the 8th day was the new world. Mm-hmm. Just like, so it relates to, that's why there was 8 people on the ark, and then they stepped off. See, so it's a birth of a new. So we're in the 8th Shimita cycle right now. So we are at a very powerful time point this year, 2022. And so all of it correlates with the stock market, with the dollar crash, and with the bond market crash. And also the other thing I got this morning too, which you might, which ties in with what's going on here, is what they just did with Russia. And so I'm going to read this to you, but it's you can Google this. But as of tonight, May 25th, midnight Eastern time, Russia will be pushed closer to the brink of default after U.S. payment license expires. So what that's saying is the U.S. to end Russia's ability to pay international investors as of 12:01 Eastern tonight.
Wow.
Without the license to use without license to use U.S. banks to pay its debt, Russia would have no ability to repay its international bond investors. The 24th of June bond, there's a big bond coming due on the 24th of June, is paid offshore, and without the U.S. or the Treasury General license, will presumably not be able to be made. These bonds default 15 days later, which takes us into the July 9th. The point being is, do you think Mother Russia, the bear, is going to sit silent to all of this? Oh, no, they're not, right? And my enemy's enemy is my friend. We're about to see Russia and China come together and destroy the dollar.
Yep.
And that will mark the moment in time, the Isaiah 61 moment, or it'll be tied in with it, because it's all going to happen at the same time here. So something like that. Imagine a flood of the U.S. dollars by China and Russia. They sell everything they possibly can in a heartbeat just to flood the system, and that will break the computers, and that will cause a default on the dollar.
Wow.
And so something's about to blow here, because Russia's not going to sit idle to what the United States, to what they're doing right here. Okay, so Russia's ready. What have they done? They've already created a gold-backed ruble.
Yep.
This is a factual statement. You can now buy oil with ruble. You can also, for some countries, can you buy oil with Bitcoin. Okay. The point being is, you can also buy oil with gold. So Russia, any nation that's ever gone against the United States dollar, immediate war. It's an active war. So something big is about to blow. So I don't know what's coming. I don't, no one really no prophet knows the events that's about to happen here, because God's keeping it hidden in a mystery and in a secret, and no one knows the day or the hour of this event. Mm-hmm. But we are in the year of Jubilee, and this is the 50th year, and this event that we're talking about, it's highly confirmed because Roe v. Wade was first argued in the Supreme Court on December 13th of 1971. That makes this the Jubilee year.
Wow.
Okay, so because this is the Jubilee year, that confirms it. So then you go back and look at what else happened in 71. Because all events that the globalists, that these people did in 71 are going to be, what, David? Turned on their head.
Yep. They're
going to flip. So and everything goes on to a new set of railroad tracks. So what else happened in 71? Okay, well, Nixon took us off the gold standard.
Yep.
Oh, guess what's coming back? The gold standard. Klaus Schwab founded the World Economic Forum. Oh, guess what's coming to a really quick end here soon? And they're going to go into hiding. Okay? Disney was founded in Florida in 71. So my point is, all of what's happening to them.
Yep.
Okay? So the events of Roe v. Wade are the pivotal thing. Because, David, if God was to turn his back on a nation, what would we have to do to upset God?
Not follow.
Kill his creation?
Yep.
Okay? So we're about to see official announcements of the overturning of Roe v. It's a done deal.
It is a done
I'm sure
deal.
Amanda's already spoken. It's a done deal. But we're about to see official announcements of that.
Yep.
That official announcement any day now.
Literally any day.
Any day now. Is going to cause mass riots, freak out sessions. They're going to go crazy. And then God steps up and shows off his power to the world. And so we're about to see when the United States turns back to God, God will turn back to the United States. And we're going to see a complete redo of what happened in January 6th.
Yeah.
And remember, there's a Supreme Court ruling that states fraud vitiates everything. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? It means from the moment the fraud occurred, and not from when it's discovered, from when it occurred, everything from that instant forward gets wiped out. Which means that everything that the fake prez, the fake whatever the guy with the vice, whatever the guy, 46, whatever he signed, 46, literally becomes null and void that instant. Every single thing he signed. And then, and this is important because then the 421 cycle I showed you doesn't end until the 25th of September. And 45 Trump is not allowed to be here for the collapse because then he would be responsible for it. So the collapse goes down on the Biden watch. And then, so the interesting thing is I looked at the seasons, and right as the 25th of September, I think 2 days before that, the 21st or 22nd, fall starts. Mm-hmm. So the probability of Trump coming in right now is not likely, based on my 421 cycle. So he would be back extremely late September, early October would be my best guess time point. If we looked at the crash cycle of the Shimita and then the Elul, the Elul 29. So that's my best guess. I don't know how this is all going to play out. I'm just talking kind of looking at the chart patterns. But regardless, biblical year, historic year, Leviticus, moment in time, thou shalt consecrate the 50th year and proclaim liberty throughout the land and all of its inhabitants. Andrew Sorchini is here to tell people if you need gold or silver, he can get you some. It might be a little difficult to get the bank to wire the money, but it'll happen. Your days are limited. It's not weeks now, okay? It's not months. It's days are limited here. So all I can tell, it's the big picture concept is here is don't sit on the fence.
Yep. Andrew, we've come up to an hour so quick. Thank you for you both coming. I'll let you close, Andrew, and on what Bo said, the sense of urgency.
Yeah, the urgency is there, and what Bo said is it really hits a nail right on the head. For people that have already accumulated a lot of gold and silver through us or anywhere else, when everything that we've said happens, when we see silver get to $50, $60 or even hundreds of dollars and gold get to $5,000 or $10,000 an ounce, you're really only going to have one feeling when that happens. And that feeling is going to come with this thought: why didn't I get more? I know, because it's greed is just human nature, and you're going to wish that you had more. Now, if you're worried about the scenario, what if I invested into too much gold and silver? That's okay too, because if you find that you got more than you should have, you can just convert it right back into green. So I think that you need to act now while it's available. Don't follow the herd, and the herd will be in full effect when it's too late.
Yeah, in closing, I would have pulled up $1, but I don't ever carry $1 on me because it's worthless. But if I put $1 in silver, the same amount, all you're doing is transferring it.
That's it.
And what do you, even today, what do you trust more, the silver or the piece of paper?
Well, and you can maybe confirm this too, Andrew. So this is important. So when at some point, if this really does happen, and it will, okay, let's say gold's worth $500, silver is worth $500 an ounce. So let's just say $1,000 an ounce, because that's going to happen, okay? At some point, because of all the money printing, silver is going to be $1,000 plus. But let's just use $1,000 as an example, okay? So people can take that silver coin, Andrew, can come to your shop, right? And if the price of silver is $1,000, you're going to give them what, Andrew?
Oh, they're going to get at least the $1,000 worth. Like if that silver coin was worth $1,000 and you bring it into the shop, you'll get at least 1,000. There's a premium above that. So that, as Bo had said before, that spread doesn't go into our pocket. That spread is the value of what it is worth above its actual silver content.
And so that's my point. So you're taking paper, which we know in the Bible, that which can burn in a fire is not, it has no value, right? Yeah. And silver and gold withstand a fire, okay? The point of fire meaning world events, okay? And so when these things go down, whatever the price of silver is, whatever the price of gold is, this is so important to grasp. A new monetary system will rise out of this, backed by gold and silver. So if you want to be a part of the new financial system today, by owning gold and silver today, whatever happens in the future with gold, whatever the price is, who knows how high these prices will go, whatever it is, you're in.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you both for coming on. This was a dynamic duo to bring on together to bring in why silver and gold today with what you've been talking about, Bo, for many, many times. And we see the markets right before us. We see the cracks. It's just a matter of when now, because it's already begun. The system's already begun to collapse. And it's going to
they should act now.
Act now. Thank you both. Great seeing you both on. God bless you
God bless
both.
both of you and your
Thanks
viewers.
for having us.
All right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. That wraps up our interview with Andrew and Bo. Amazing times we live in. Take advantage of it. Get your silver and gold. It's so important. Again, it's this simple. If you have paper money here and silver here, all you're doing is transferring that from something that you have value, that you could hold in your hand, that you know is not going to be inflated or be gone or not be able to get in the near future, because once the run starts, it's too late. We thank you for joining in with us. God bless you, and go in his shalom.
Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange is a client-focused firm devoted to assisting our clients with precious metals. Our clients range from first-time to serious coin collectors and investors seeking to add precious metals to their investment portfolios. We are not interested in volatile investments, leveraged products, and intangible assets. With rising inflation and the devaluing of the dollar hurting middle-class families, investing in gold and silver ensures protection for your hard-earned money. Save the value of your money today by investing in gold and silver at Beverly Hills Precious Metals.